Hello there, it's me, Paul Murphy, yet again. Well, I say yet again, I've always been Paul Murphy, so I don't know. Every morning I wake up, oh God, I'm Paul Murphy yet again. What did I ever do in a previous life to deserve this? Right, I mean, I've been so bad in this life, if this is karma, I will come back as me. Right, where are we to? So we are on page 146, is that? I don't know. Anyway, I'm reading Book 2 in my extremely unlikely History of the World series. And if you've been keeping up with things, then this is, I don't know. Which video is this? A bit louder. 6. This is video 6 of the USA section. And we got up to early independence. I know that because the title of this paragraph is Early Independence. The Treaty of Paris, signed in Paris, there's a surprise, by representatives of King George III of Great Britain and representatives of the United States of America on September the 3rd, 1783, ended the American Revolutionary War and standardised the weight of a pasty. Pasty? Pasty! Goodness me! Great Britain agreed to recognise the sovereignty of the United States. I think I need to change my glasses. Talk amongst yourselves just for a second now. Yeah, there's no... I need to change my glasses, I need to change the length of my arms. Right, where do we get to? Standardise the weight of a pasty. Join that bit together or fast forward it and you'll get a whole joke out of it. Great Britain agreed to recognise the sovereignty of the United States, thinking it strange they'd be after it since they just said they didn't want a sovereign, and formally ended the war. I need a cough, I do apologise. Yeah, or a throat clear cough, you know, it all works out. French involvement, you don't get this with the Beatles, you know. Hey Jude, don't make it. Actually, they always say don't sing Beatles songs, so 2 words, I don't think that counts. Copyright lawyers out there. Where do we get to? French involvement. Paul McCartney, if you want to read my book out loud on YouTube, you're most welcome to. French involvement had proven decisive, but France made few gains and incurred crippling debts. That's more like George than Paul, but anyway. 3.315 billion livres by 1783 on war costs and garlic. Unlike Britain, which had a very efficient taxation system, pay up or die, the French tax system was highly unstable, eventually leading to a financial crisis in 1786. The debts contributed to a worsening fiscal crisis that ultimately begat the French Revolution at the end of the century, when the national debt had skyrocketed to 12 billion livres. That's what you get for sticking your bloody nose in where it shouldn't be. Spain made some minor territorial gains, but failed in its primary aims of recovering Gibraltar and finding out the secret ingredient in Worcester sauce. Whilst the Dutch were defeated on all counts and were compelled to cede territory to Great Britain and to stand on one leg in the rain until they fell over. One notable occurrence following the war was the emergence of the American newspaper. Although they had existed in some form beforehand, practically all were of 4 small pages, each of 3 or 4 columns, and issued weekly. In 1783, the Pennsylvania Evening Post became the first American daily, and thus began the phenomenon of fake news. 25th of November 1783, the British withdrawal from ports. I'm assuming that I've read that this is meant to be read out as newspaper headlines, so I should maybe do it different. 25th of November 1783, the British withdraw from ports in New York and the Carolinas, and after having eaten all the cats. What? I know what that... Oh, of course, yeah, it's meant to be fake news. Local resident Millie Grubb was heard to moan, "That's not what I meant when I said eat my pussy, British man." 16th of May 1785, the state of Franklin, also known as "Look at the state of Franklin, doesn't it own a clean shirt?" applies to become the 14th federal state under the proposed name of Frankland, or, failing that, very, 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 very West Cleethorpes. Congress refuses admission to the Union and tells it to join the Mounties instead. It never tells it what to join the Mounties to, and Franklin has a mental breakdown trying to figure it out. Eventually it renames itself Under Skyland and sets up a lake shaving parlour in North Carolina, specialising in the right one. 25th of January 1787, Shays' Rebellion takes place and Revolutionary War veteran Daniel Shays leads 4,000 rebels called Shaysites, although at least one was actually called Arthur, in an in an uprising against perceived economic and civil rights injustice, such as the right for people in North Carolina to have their left leg shaved. The rebels marched on the United States' armory at Springfield in an attempt to seize its weaponry and overthrow the government. When this failed, they marched on Fred's Donut Store in an attempt to seize its cream delights. They also failed this, so they marched on to Ermentrude, Farmer Hank Cowchow's flatulent chicken, in an attempt to seize her eggs and at least get an omelette. Omelette? What have you got on your shoulders, Frenchman? I've got some omelettes on my shoulders. Let's go back and do that again. They also failed on the creep. Yes, in a minute, mother. Good heavens. It's terrible when they're dead. They telephone you from beyond the grave. Where do we get to? Farmer Frank Cowchow's flatulent chicken in an attempt to seize her eggs and at least get an omelette out of the day. Ermentrude routed the rebels using Hank's electric router, and they sloped off home, telling Shay, "That was a pretty crap day out. Can't we go to the beach next time?" 1st of June 1792, Kentucky admitted into the Union as a 15th state. This came as rather a surprise to Mr. Tucky, first name Ken, who was only trying to join the golf club. 14th of March 1794, Eli Whitney received a patent for his invention, the cotton gin. The invention was not a success because, despite the 1795 invention of the cotton tonic, no one could stand the taste of the stuff. And not that that stopped Spencer Tracy champing it by the crate, mind you. And finally, 27th of October 1795, Pinckney's Treaty. What? That's got to be a real name. Pinckney's Treaty was signed, establishing intentions of friendship between the United States and Spain. It also defined the border between the United States and Spanish Florida, and also who had to mow the lawns on Sundays. The failure of Miguel de Janeiro to turn up for his shift on the last Sunday in December caused an international crisis and an accumulation of doggy-doo, leading to a breakdown in relations and the two sides only speaking to each other through sign language. This is not going to work out loud, is it? This is just like a totally visual joke anyway. So, Mr. American. You have to imagine people hold up signs, reading, okay? 30 miles an hour. I'll show you, you long-lawn limey lover. Holds up sign. Men at work. Mr. Spanish Florida. So you insult our manhood and our work rate? Take this, hamburger heads. Holds up sign. No right term. Mr. American. Goddamn Democrats. Chew on this. Holds up sign. Cleethorpes welcomes careful drivers. Mr. Spanish Floridan. Lie to our faces. How low can you go? We send you this. No entry. Mr. American. Insult my wife's bloomers, would you? Well, look out, boys. Holds up sign. Maximum weight 7.5 tons. Mr. Spanish Floridan. Insult my wife's bloomers, would you? Read this. Holds up sign. Danger. 5,000 volts. Mr. Spanish Floridan. Sizzle. And finally repeated. 4th of November 1796, the Treaty of Tripoli, the first treaty between the United States of America and Tripoli. Who'd have thought? To secure commercial shipping rights and protect American ships in the Mediterranean Sea from pirates and loyalist dolphins was signed. And I really need to take a breath in now. An intake of breath coming my way. What are you going to do? Click on another video? Maybe one of mine? Yes, there's lots of them there. Thank you for your time.